Welcome everyone, welcome Gibbs families, welcome to Ottoson Middle School. Sixth graders, this is your first, maybe not your first, but this is kind of your first introduction to Ottoson Middle School. I'm Rochelle Rubino, I'm the principal of Ottoson Middle School. I'm really excited to be here to welcome you all. This is the first event of our transition process, and students, you'll all be hearing from me a little bit later this month when we talk about some selection for your specials classes that you get to make. But one of the first things that we wanted to talk with you and your caregivers about is the math course options and selection process for you as a seventh grader. So this is just the start of many conversations that you'll have as you're thinking about yourself and where you want to, what class you want to take in seventh grade. I'm going to do some introductions and then turn it over to our math teachers who are going to lead all of you in a math activity with your caregivers. Students and caregivers will be able to work on that activity together. That's why we have the vertical whiteboard stationed around the room. You'll get to feel what it's like to be a student and work with your own child on some activities tonight. So tonight with me I have Octavia Bronner. She is our math director for Arlington Public Schools. Our middle school math coach, Sarah Langer. One of our seventh grade math teachers, Ms. Jin Lee, and one of our assistant principals, Kevin Casey, is also here. Mr. Amadi, your current principal, is on his way, so he'll be walking in a few moments as well. But I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Langer and Ms. Lee, who are going to talk about our activity for this evening before we get you started.
Good evening, I'm Jen, I'm the 7th grade math teacher. So today's agenda, we're going to do a math task from vertical teaching classroom. And then we will talk about also 7th grade math course options and have 8th grade and beyond. And what's your next step. And then we will also report back to you about math task for survey. And then we will make a closure with feedback form.
Thank you everyone for your participation. This is the first time we've had to wrangle a group of more than 150 people into an activity like this. Usually it's in a setting of 20 in a classroom, 25 in a classroom. So we appreciate you participating and sticking with it. If you're left with a marker, so if you still have a marker, just keep it for now. I'll just put it on the tables before we go. And so we just offer a couple photos from current 7th grade, just showing students engaging with this type of task. It's one instructional move that gets kids up, students get up, it gets them moving, it gets them collaborating. We only let them use one marker. We encourage them to rotate the marker as they're working so that everybody can share their ideas and has an opportunity to write on the whiteboard. So if I have the marker and I'm stuck, my group members can help me figure out what I'm writing. So I'm still really engaging with the math and the thinking and the collaboration part of the problem solving. Students will often do a gallery walk. They can look around and get ideas from other groups to support what they're doing and getting to a place where maybe they can dig into some of the extension questions. And it's a really good way for educators to look around and just get a sense of where are students, what is their thinking, where might there be some misconceptions, who's ready for more. So it's just a really nice way to get a quick view of what's going on in the classroom and how students are working and how they're thinking. And how they're representing what they're thinking. So someone may notice things, there's 3D that are drawn, there's 2D nets, there's tables of numbers. All of that's really important in thinking about how students are making those connections. So thank you for participating in that task. So I'm going to move forward and talk a little bit about what we value in Arlington in our math programming. Talk a little bit about what next year might look like for you in 7th grade and what your math choices are, a number of other math courses. If you're staying on that sort of core pathway, pre-calculus would be the next course, followed by calculus. We offer linear algebra and number theory. You only need algebra 2 to take that. We offer statistics. You only need algebra 2 to take that. And then a new course, integrated statistics and quantitative reasoning. All of these are outlined in the high school program of studies. It's not something you have to look into now, but these are the electives that are available. And then just that you can pair them. So after Algebra 2, students can take pre-calculus and statistics in the same year. And then they can take calculus and linear algebra in the same year. So once you've met that Algebra 2 place, it opens up a little bit and gives you some more options. And then the path you take after Algebra 2 really depends on what your goals are for when you leave Arlington High School. And that's something you would work with your counselor on, you would talk to your math teachers. So there's a lot of support in making those choices. I tried to think of a way to clearly show what the different options could look like, and the table was the best way to do it. So Math 7, by 12th grade, you could get to pre-calculus and you could take statistics your senior year. If you do 7A, you have the option to get to calculus, and then the bypass can get to calculus a little earlier and still have some math electives. I don't have them presented here, but there are options for current high school students. It could look a little different by the time you all get to 9th grade, so I didn't want to map them out for you here. But there are opportunities to accelerate so that if a student would like to get to calculus by senior year, we have pathways that can help you meet that goal. And there's a couple different ones right now, and we're still looking at our pathways and figuring out what are some other ways that we can get students access to calculus if that is their goal before they graduate. That's really important to us as a district, and what we value at the high school is making sure students can reach their learning goals before they leave the district, before they leave APS. Really quickly, there's some other courses at the high school that if you really like math, you don't have to take all those courses necessarily that we presented. There's computer science courses. We offer a whole suite of those. That's a general pathway. And then we offer some electives. We have data science, cybersecurity, video game development, AI with Python. Outside the math and computer science department, there are other courses. There's oceanography, there's geomorphology, there's architecture, there's design, engineering, and fabrication. So there's a whole host of STEM-related courses that you can take that are still using that foundational math knowledge.
All right, I'm going to go back to, I just want to highlight this slide one more time. So, and it's going to connect to the other slide. So tonight, students especially, we want you to be thinking about what class you want to take as a 7th grader. We offer what we call challenge by choice, so you can decide if you are ready to take on the challenge of Math 7A, the accelerated version, or you can take Math 7. Both are wonderful courses. They are appropriate for your grade level, and they are supported by your teachers, by your counselors, and we will help you get through those classes. So think about yourself right now as a student. It's January. We are going to be giving you some time to be thinking about what class you want to take in 7th grade. We're not asking you to make that decision, that choice right now. We want you to start thinking about that. Think about your experience in your math class from the beginning of the year up until now. Think about yourself over these next few months. Engage in conversations with your teachers. Engage in conversations with your caregivers around what would be the best option for you based on some of this guidance that we are sharing here. In a couple weeks, actually next week, you'll be learning about some of our specials in classes that you'll be able to select some preferences for. I'm not going to talk about those right now. I did share them out with your caregivers so they have all of this information, and you will receive a slideshow during advisory next week that will be presented by me, and we'll be talking more about those, but you don't have to even worry about them right yet, but that's coming up too. So as you are thinking about yourself as a math person and about what course you want to take for your math class, we have some additional things and conversations and options for you. We are going to have another virtual middle school math forum on Tuesday, March 3rd from 7 to 7:30. This is after February vacation week. It gives you some more time. So now we are presented and we're sharing out the pathways and some options for you and some things to think about. On March 3rd, we are offering caregivers another time to come and speak with me, with Ms. Bronner, and maybe some of our teachers and Mr. Amati, if you have any final questions around what you think your child should choose in 7th grade. Then, students will also be completing a math course selection reflection form. This will take place during your math class at the Gibbs School, the beginning of March, and then we will be asking you on or around March 13th to make a selection for what course you would like to take in 7th grade. We will ask you to select whether that be Math 7 or Math 7A. Can you change your mind? Certainly, you definitely can. This is just a starting point to give us some opportunity to begin the scheduling process. If at the end of May, the beginning of June, you decide, actually I think I want to try out Math 7A, you can send me an email, you can send Mr. Casey an email, and we can change your selection for you. So it's not a binding choice that you make on March 13th, but we are hoping it is a choice that you have had some time to think about, engage in conversations with your caregivers, engage in conversations with your teachers, and then reach out to admin for any other questions that you might have.
Great. So I am going to have Sean Berry come up and talk a little bit about the Math Pathway Planning Task Force.
Good evening, everyone. I am Sean Berry. My son Judah is in 6th grade. It's offensive to see this, so he's not here. But I am a community representative on our Math Pathways Task Force. For those of you who don't know, I mentioned it. We are looking at what this pathway, all of these math course selections, looks like in Arlington, and how we can improve it, how we can support challenge by choice, and really make math accessible to all of our students and everyone here. So, the task force, these are kind of the mission of the task force, what I outlined, aligned with our APS kind of commitment to MTSS, which I always feel like we have to describe as multi-tiered systems of support, so that each of our students are getting everything to access the challenge by choice. And it's sustainable and efficient, so whatever choice that we do make, that we're able to staff it and provide as many persons as we can. As Dr. Gia said, there are so many enriching electives at the high school as well. We want to make sure we're doing that. So as part of the task force, I'm on kind of the math experiences group. So what we're interested in doing is getting an understanding of what families' experiences are, caregivers, students, and staff in Arlington to help us guide us through this work. So we are putting together a pilot survey, and we wanted to kind of we had all of you here talking about math, and we've got a lot of information, and we use that word pathways a lot of times. We want to get some feedback from you to help us inform us on that work. So in the next coming weeks, we're going to put that together, and so please keep an eye out for it, and we would love your participation because that would really help us put that together as all the data to the larger group. So thank you, and I will be around after if you want to go up and talk to me as well. So.
Thank you very much. So now we will open it up to questions. What questions do you have for us? Wow, we were amazing. Yes.
You briefly mentioned the email. Can you talk through the support opportunities? It sounded like individual and perhaps a group or something dropped in.
For like math support, yes. So we do offer math support classes for students who are in Math 7. These are usually recommended by a teacher that would recommend that a child has a math support class. This is also something you can reach out to administration about if you would like your child to participate in the math support class. It is an additional class that gets added to your child's schedule, so they will take their math class plus the math support class. Math support class meets every other day on a 4-day cycle. We also offer a new elective that we're piloting this year and that we plan to offer next year as well, which is a math enrichment elective, a specials class, which is similar to math support in the fact that it meets every other day. But it is a class that you can opt in to take as one of your additional specials classes. And again, that would meet for a semester every other day. And then you would rotate after you're done with that math enrichment class. You might take one of our other specials like an art class or a music class. Yes? You would
Where do we find the IXL diagnostic score?
Where do we find the IXL diagnostic score?
So if your students took the diagnostic at the start of the year, they should be able to see their score, but the teacher can also send you there. It's something, I can't really explain it here, but it is, I think there's a link that says diagnostic and your analytics on their platform. Yeah, they have to be logged into IXL, they log in through Clever, and if they've been doing skills, so they know how to get to the page. But if you need support finding it, the teacher can share that with you also. So the question is about switching. So if you make a choice like Math 7 and you decide to move to Math 7A, can you switch or the other direction? I'm going to let you answer that just because it's a structural with the scheduling.
So yes, you can. If you're going to move from Math 7 to Math 7A, you want to make that decision rather early on in the
R. And then also offering a peek at what happens beyond 7th grade. What are the high school math options? Where is their flexibility? What are some elective choices that you can work towards? So in Arlington, we value creating an experience that brings growth, joy, gives students a sense of belonging. And thinking about those words, growth, joy, and belonging, and connecting them to the actual learning in the classroom, thinking about struggle, productive struggle, how that promotes growth, a growth mindset, getting feedback from your peers. This type of activity, you can get some feedback from your peers about your thinking or moving in a different direction, creating that sense of belonging and really being a part of the learning. You're actively learning. Engaging in a real-world task, thinking about applications can bring students joy. And then the choice. There's some student choice that brings empowerment, and we'll talk a little bit about that choice in terms of thinking about those 7th grade math options. In terms of a math department, we really value creating this sense of students experiencing deep understanding, developing those critical thinking skills, getting access to the high-quality math tasks, those rich tasks, promoting that growth mindset, like I said before, and then really encouraging that collaboration. We don't want their learning to happen in isolation. There are moments where we do want to measure what students know independently, but so much of their growth happens with their peers. They have so much to learn from each other and to support each other through that process. So currently, you're all in 6th grade students. So you're either in Math 6, which is our grade level math course, or if you participated and were invited to the bypass, you're in Math 7A. In 7th grade, so I'm going to focus just on the Math 6 for a moment. So there's a couple things, I'm going to show the pathways and then I'll articulate what's the difference of those classes. So first I'm just going to show a visual of the pathway and then compare the two options side by side and then provide guidance for how you know where you might want to fit for next year. What might be the best space for you next year? So one option goes to Math 7. So Math 6 are 6th grade standards developed by the state. Those are part of our state framework. Math 7 is a grade level course covering 7th grade standards. So that's sort of the expected path in which students proceed. They go from 6th grade standards to 7th grade standards. The second class is Math 7A, and the A is for accelerated. This is a faster pace. It is an accelerated course. It covers all of the 7th grade standards, in addition to some of the 8th grade standards, as a means to prepare students for Algebra 1 and 8th grade. If you're currently in Math 7A, you will take Algebra 1 as a 7th grader, so you'll be now mixed in with some 8th grade sections, and you'll be taking Algebra 1 alongside 8th graders. So Math 7A, like I said, that's a grade level course. That's what's expected for students as they come up K through 8. The K through 8 standards in our state framework are grade-based standards. We have first grade standards, second grade standards, etc., up through 8th grade. So that's how the state designs our core framework for math. There's 8 units that we cover in that course that are in our curriculum. The pace is similar to what you're currently experiencing in your 6th grade math class. The teachers collectively as a team have agreed to allowing students to do revisions on quizzes and revisions on tests. All of this in the name of promoting that growth, promoting learning. Reflection is a huge part of that learning process. And then offering some optional assignments to better understand and build those skills. For the accelerated course, the biggest difference for this course is the amount of content that's covered in the school year. So it's all 8 units of the 7th grade math, plus an additional 4 units of the 8th grade math. So we've taken the same amount of time, but squished more material into it. So the class itself is faster paced. That has some implications. It could feel better, it could feel more difficult. It really depends on an individual. There's less time spent overall on certain content areas because they need to move beyond it a little bit faster, so they don't tend to pause and sit and allow for some more thinking or different ways of thinking about a topic to really solidify that learning. The other biggest difference is that they do allow quiz revisions, but they don't allow test revisions. So just advancing the expectations a little bit more beyond the Math 7 course. And then they also provide optional assignments. Both courses have homework, they have nightly homework. So there's not a big difference in that sense between the two. It feels a little bit different in 6th grade because now you would be in 7th grade, so the expectations are just a little bit higher than for what you might have in 6th grade for the amount of homework you have. So Ms. Rubino and myself and the 7th grade team and the 6th grade team, we really wanted to try to figure out a way to provide guidance on thinking about, should I, if I'm a student, does it make sense for me to take Math 7 next year or Math 7A? One way of thinking about it is using some numbers. And these are not the only things, right? These are things that you should think about. Where are you? What can guide your decision? So if the pace of your 6th grade math class feels just right, Math 7 might be the right choice. There's other things you want to consider as well. If it feels pretty slow and you really think that you want to move a little bit faster, Math 7A might be the right choice. Students participate, the teachers give an IXL diagnostic. So I'll just use the example of the 650 for that IXL diagnostic mid-year. 650 corresponds to mid-6th grade. So 600 would be you're at the beginning of 6th grade in terms of your skill based solely on this assessment, right? It's multiple choice, it's only skill based, so it's one piece of information about your math learning and math readiness. It's not the whole story. Thinking about your prior MCAS scores, where have those been? The other thing to think about is how you've operated in Math 6. Does it feel like you've needed a lot of opportunities to revise your work or extra time to turn in assignments? That's an important thing to think about, how you've operated this year. Maybe next year Math 7 is the right choice, but moving forward there's other acceleration points in time that you can participate in high school. Maybe that's when you want to participate in an accelerated pathway. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Some students are ready for a faster pace in 7th grade, and some need a little bit more time, and that's okay. The last thing is just thinking about time outside of class. 7th grade, like I said, it's mostly nightly homework. But because the Math 7A is a faster pace and they're covering more content, it's likely you'll need to spend a little bit more time outside of class in that particular course than in the grade level Math 7. So if you have the time and you like spending a lot of time doing your math work and math thinking, that might be the right course. If you'd rather focus your time outside of class on your English class assignments or your science assignments, Math 7 might be the right choice. So you can see there's not a one sort of this is where you need to go. It's really dependent on the individual. The one thing I would say, and I know this is hard to avoid, is it's so nice to go where all your friends go. It's nice to be in class with your friends. It's more entertaining, right? You get to see them during the day. I would encourage you students to think about you, where you are right now, what's best for your learning next year. What's best for your learning? What makes sense for you? Where you're going to be comfortable but also feel challenged. And again, it's not going to be the same answer as for your friend necessarily. So just thinking about that. All right, that was a lot of talking. We will share the slides. These will be available. So I see people taking photos and notes, which is great, but we do want to make sure that you have access to all of these. So 7th grade, you have the two choices, Math 7 or 7A. From there, what happens in high school, or 8th grade, sorry. So if you take the grade level path, you would take Math 8 in 8th grade, and then you would move through Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, your junior year. If you're taking the accelerated 7th grade, you would get up through Algebra 2 in 10th grade. So you would take Algebra 1 in 8th grade, Geometry in 9th grade, and then Algebra 2. And the bypass, for anybody who's here for that, you'll be taking Algebra 2 in 9th grade. So according to the state, Algebra 2 is typically a junior level course. The math department is interesting at the high school because our courses tend to be mixed grade level. We don't do like 9th grade English, 10th grade English. So geometry is a mixture of freshmen, sophomores, the occasional junior. Algebra 2 is probably our most varied course with 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, and the occasional 12th grader. So you do get mixed in with upperclassmen when you come to the high school freshman year. If you're in geometry, it's mostly freshmen and some sophomores. After Algebra 2, things open up a little bit. So before I get to those electives, so Arlington Public Schools expects that every student takes Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 in school. If you came from another school, you could take it at that other school. So that's the expectation. Those are our core courses. Graduation requirements at the high school are that you complete 3 years of math, including Algebra 1 and Geometry. After Algebra 2 is a prerequisite for another
year due to the pace of the Math 7A being an accelerated class because your child will move faster through the coursework. So if your child starts with Math 7 and they feel like they are ready for Math 7A pretty quickly, you would want to do that before the end of September. Alternatively, there are students at points throughout the year that may be in Math 7A and decide that it is moving too fast and they would like to move to the Math 7 class, and we are able to make those accommodations as well. Depending upon a child's individual schedule, it can require us to move some other classes around. We won't move, once the LCs students are put in learning communities, they'll remain in their learning communities, so you'll still have the same teachers for you. We wouldn't switch you into a different math teacher necessarily, but the order of your classes may have to shift depending on when that class is offered in the schedule. It's a little bit of a puzzle if you move during the year for any classes.
All right, so as you guys start talking about the math options for next year, what you might want to do, I'm sure other questions will come up. Please feel free to reach out to myself or Ms. Rubino to get clarification. We're here to support you in that choice and selecting that course.
And that's part of the reason why we're having that additional math forum in a few weeks. because we anticipate that as you're having these conversations, more questions will come up. So again, we will, as we get closer, we will share out another Google form so you can submit some questions so we can prepare ahead of time to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I hope you had some fun with some math problems with your children. Have a good evening. Stay warm.